What we want to do now is try to help everybody on the floor, in your stores, and try to fit these people up with the proper fit. Now, there's two things, there's sizing and fit. Sizing is the numerical, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Fit is how it feels to the customer. So what we're interested in, two things. We got to get a rough idea what their size is, and then we have to get an idea how it fits their foot. Now, what you have to understand in this day and age, sizing is nowhere like it used to be. It's all over the board. What happens is we have boots made in China, everywhere else in the world, and the sizing is way out of whack. I'm sure you girls go and buy some shoes somewhere, and a 7 in one store, you can't even get it on, where an 8 in another store you're absolutely swimming in. So what we have to try to do is find out from the person a general idea. So when your customer comes in, he says, I like to have a pair of boots, I like that boot, he pulls it off the shelf, you know, and then, well, now you got to decide how you're going to handle it. The first thing to do is say, have you ever worn any boots before? Oh yes, I've had a pair of boots, I've had them years ago, I this or that or the other thing. Then your idea is to find it. Well, now you got a good deal there because they're already familiar somewhat with the Western boot. The second thing is, what brands did they wear? Because every brand has a different characteristic. Some are real tight in the throat, some are tight in the heel, some are long. So you want to get an idea where they've been so you can try to help them get into something that's very comfortable. Now, what you want to do then is say, well, when was the last time you had a pair of boots? When was the last time you bought a pair of boots? Now, what you have to understand here is that people, anybody past 35, their foot is changing. And it's really changing now that everybody's wearing tennis shoes. It's not constructed boot. We have a shank in our boot that helps keep the arch in it. But everybody's wearing flat sandals and their foot is actually spreading down and spreading out. So anybody who's over 35 years old, you really, really want to make sure that you got a rough idea for their size. Now, all you want to do is ask them that so you can go get a couple pair to try them on, because otherwise you have no idea where to start. Now, he may start out and say, I've been a 9.5 my whole life. Well, believe me, he's not a 9.5 anymore. He's worn a pair of boots that probably stretched way over his waist, but they're comfortable because he's had them for 20 years. Or the woman's the same way. Women are not as conscious of the fit as men are, because women have all been crippled in a mall somewhere by some salesman with a pair of pumps. So they'll be more conscious on how tight it is, where the men are more conscious on that, can they just wear it and does it feel good. So the women's business right now in the Western boot industry, believe it or not, is over 60% of my business. Now, I have the East Coast, there's also the West Coast is the same way, and then we do with the fashion boot, which is the regular Western boot. Now, what we want to do, now you've asked the person, have you ever had boots? He says yes or no. And then you want to ask his basic shoe size. So then you start with that. Now, what we do is, what's your basic shoe size?
7.5.
7.5. I think we have a pair here. Imagine that. Okay, now, the first thing you want to do is you put your fingers in your keepers. You stand up. You pull down. Now, the foot is supposed to pop into the boot. And why is that? Because this was made on a handmade last, which means that the last of this boot, or the mold that this boot was made on for that size, came apart and came out. That means that there's a throat here that has not been breached because the last has taken out in 2 pieces. Your less expensive boots, they take the last, they just suck it out. Now you got a big wide hole, and when they put the boot on, it's always sloppy. But sloppy's better than, you can't get their foot in it. If you can't get their foot in it, you can't sell it. So what we're going to do is we want her to put her fingers in her keepers, stand up, push down, and it'll be a pop when it goes in. Now, as people working on the floor and as customers come in, you have to understand you've got a 60-second time frame to get their attention, because they're interested in what they're picking out, they're joking, they're doing this, they're doing that. So you have 60 seconds to say a little spiel. It's important because it keeps you from coming back and saying, it sounds like you're really laying a line on them. You tell them you're going to put your fingers in your keepers, you're going to stand up, you're going to struggle, it's going to pop. Then what you want to do is tell them you want pressure on the outside here, because that will go away, because these are all leather. These boots will stretch. And then the next thing is you want the ball of the foot at the widest part of the boot. So that's how you do it. Don't even worry about the toe box. As soon as somebody squeezes the toe box, they don't have a clue what they're doing. There ain't nobody in the world got a foot's going to go in that toe box. And if they do, you done crippled another one. When you fit the boots up wrong, most people fit them up wrong. They've crippled more people than polio because it just don't fit. So what you do, so you want the ball of the foot here, you want it snug here. Now, this is important. As soon as you give them that spiel, I want the ball of the foot here, it's going to pop when it goes in, you pull, the keepers won't pull out. You have to address the fact the heel will slip. Because if you don't, they're going to say, oh, I like this boot, but the heel slips. Now you got to come back and say, oh, well, that's all right. Well, that sounds like you just made that one up. But you tell them before, let them know what they're going to do. Did your dentist ever come up to you and say, look, now I'm going to give you a shot of Novocaine, you're going to feel, you want to tell them, look, we're going to go, this is not like dentist, but your heel's going to slip, okay? So just let them know ahead of time. It really adds to your credibility. All right, now, try that. Stand up, honey. There you go. Okay, now, what we want to have here is, we want to be, this is just about as loose as you want to make it. The ball of the foot, turn your foot this way. The ball of the foot has to be at the widest part of the boot. Okay, now, the important thing here is if this is way too big and the ball of the foot is here, then we get into a different width. So now you want to go to a B width. You want to make it a little snugger. If she has the ball of the foot here and this is excruciatingly tight here, or it looks like she's running over the last a little bit, now you got to go to a double E. So that, or a C for ladies, and a man it would be a double E. So you want to go to a wider width. So that's the important thing. You only have two things going here. You have here and the width. And that's the only things you can do. So you don't have laces like a shoe. You can make up for them by tightening your laces down. So that's the most important thing. Now you ask them how you feel. Do you feel a little pressure on the outside? Okay, then. Now when they walk, the heel, the sole is like this. It's been lasted that way. It has a steel shank in it. When they walk, until this flexes and bends, it's going to pull the heel down. Just let them walk around the store a couple minutes. This old day BS of going out there and sticking your foot in the bucket of water and waiting for 3 days for it to dry before it gets comfortable, that's not even close. That's because the boots weren't fit right or made right, or they're using some cockamamie real hard leather that really feels terrible to the customer. Our boots, when you put them on and walk around, after 10 minutes, they should feel like you own them your whole life. And the important thing here is, since you're selling these, is use our boots to fit them up in. Now you got one on their foot. You're 80% complete of selling an expensive boot. The next thing you do is you tell them, look, well, I like that one over there. Put that on the other foot. Let them walk around the store, but keep this on their foot. By the time 10 or 15 or 20 minutes go by, they're going to pony up the extra $100 to buy the better boot, because they're going to realize the $100 is the fact that it's handmade, it's all leather, and it's twice as comfortable as anything else that they can buy. So that's a good sale ploy. Just make sure they keep the Lucchese on. Now, you got hardwood floors are great because they can walk all day and it doesn't bother. Rugs are pretty good too. Although if it's a nylon rug, it will chafe the bottom. But don't be scared to let your customer walk around the store with the boot on. Lots of times the guy will put it on and you can feel it and you know, or the guy or the girl, you know it's a little too big. They say, oh no, that's perfect, that's perfect. Well, you know it's too big. You can pinch something here, it's way too big. Let them walk around. All of a sudden they'll come up to you and say, you know, have you got that other size? This feels a little big now, because they've got to walk around in it and the heel quits slipping. So you'll get them down the size, make it a little tighter so that the foot will stretch and the leather will stretch. And this tightness in the toe will go away and the heel will stop slipping.